Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I know I haven't filmed in months. 1 weekend of not filming turns into 2, 3, 4, and then next thing you know it's November and you haven't put out new content in ages. So I'm hoping that today's video is going to be the start of a new chapter where I actually put more videos out, more content. I have a lot of products that I've been trying out. I have new favorites. I have a lot of ideas. So I'm really hoping that this is the start of something new. And today's video is one that I thought was really important for me to kind of come back with. It is a video that I personally would love to have if I was someone looking to buy this product. So I'm going to be filming, as I'm sure you can tell by the title, with the new Natasha Denona Safari palette. So one thing I want to say before I start getting into this palette specifically is, in general, Natasha Denona is like one of my favorite brands. I have her Lila palette right there that I filmed a video with that I'll make sure to link in the description box below. I have the Star palette. I have top coats. I'm wearing her foundation right now, and it is a brand that in general I usually think is worth the high price tag, because if you know anything about Natasha Denona, you know it is a brand that is expensive. It is a luxury brand. It is investment makeup. It's not something that you normally would go into the store and be like, hey, I need a new eyeshadow palette, let me get that. No, it's usually like makeup that you're like, this is something I've been saving for, this is something for like a special occasion. For me, I picked this palette up after I got some really good news, and I was super excited about it because I'd been seeing all the swatches online and I was like, oh my god, I have to have this. I don't have anything quite like it. So opening this palette up, you'll see there are 15 shades in here at 2.5 grams a piece, and this is her all matte palette. So basically this palette would be like if you just had one palette for all the mattes you might ever need. And I think these shades in here are absolutely stunning, which is why I really wanted this palette, because I was like, these are so unique. I don't have anything quite like this. I don't know of another palette that looks like this. So that is why I decided to pick this palette up. I also really like that there's a mix of cool tones and a mix of warm tones and some like neutrals, so you can basically create any kind of eye look that you would want with these shades right here. And then if you buy any of like the toppers or the top coats or the single shadows that have been really popular lately, like the Hourglass scattered light ones, the Tarte ones, anything like that, then you basically can like make any sort of eye look with this palette. But this palette, we're gonna get into why it is not my favorite palette and why I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth the high price tag. And I can't remember if I said it or not, but this palette is $129, so I do mean it when I say it is definitely like investment makeup, but not sure that I would say this one is worth that investment. So let me zoom you in so I can go ahead and show you how these shadows work on the eyes. Then I'll do some swatches. Then I'll compare it to the other Natasha Denona palettes that I have, as well as some shadows that I've been able to find that are close to dupes to these, because I have gone through my entire collection to see what I could find that was similar to these. So I'm going to zoom you in right now so we can start playing with these shadows. So I just primed my eyes using the Smashbox Photo Focus 24-Hour Shadow Primer, and this is the primer I've been using with all the shadows that I've used in like the last year or so, and I love this, so I know that this is something that definitely works for me. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shade right here, I think it's called Aya, and I'm going to dust that all over the lid. Next, I'm going to take this pale grayish green shade right here called Stone, and I'm going to dust that into my crease. Into my inner corner. Well, not my inner corner, into my crease. Definitely a little bit of fallout. I'm gonna take this pink shade Lotus and I'm gonna put that into the crease a little bit lower. Next, I'm going to take the shade Desert Date, which is this orange in the middle, this bright orange, and I'm going to put that on the inner corner. So the one thing with this palette I kind of find is the shadows aren't as pigmented as I like. I have to use kind of more than I feel like I should to like build it up. And then when I am building it up and I'm blending it, I feel like it just kind of like goes away. Like the pink that was over here, you can't really see that anymore. Let's see if this gets any better. So I'm gonna take that pink again and dust it through. Next, I'm going to take Mahara. I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's like the corally shade right here. I'm going to put that more in the center. Then I'm going to take the shade next to it, this purple one, and put that on the outer corner. Dusting it through. See, I find this one is like a little patchy, and then right here it seems to be like kind of creating a bald spot where I feel like the product that was there is just like rubbing away. And it's like skipping a little bit. I don't know. Like, I think these shades are beautiful, but I find that when I start really like working with them, they all kind of like mesh together and then they like skip weirdly on the eye and create like bald spots. Like, it's like the shadow just like flutters away and there's like no sticking power to it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And it's like, they just kind of look like the same color when you're kind of done with it. Because it's not like I really mixed the Desert Date and Amahara over here. I didn't really mix them together and it just looks like there's one shade across my eye. I'm really sad, honestly, to not like this palette as much as I was expecting to, because these shades are beautiful, but if they don't last on the eye and they don't blend well, like, it's not worth it. See, like, right here, I think it's also, like, picking up over here as well. And it's just kind of, like, a lot lighter and, like, as Samantha Ravndal would say, it's like very gently pigmented when it shouldn't be. Like, cause this one, if you look at it, it's like a deep color. The one I've just been putting on the corner, Maasai, I'm not really sure, but like, where is that on my eye? I feel like it just looks like a patchy, muddy-ish mess right now. Not very pleased. Okay, I was hoping that when I was doing this video that I would actually like them again, but I don't know. So now I'm going to take Tamarind. I'm really just trying to use as many shadows as possible. I'm going to take that and dust that on the lower lash line. Mustard has been a shade I've been loving lately. I feel like these shades just they just kind of go away. Okay, and then I'm gonna take a small little brush and take Tribe right here, which is like this burnt orange color, and dust that along it too, the lower lash line I mean. And then I'm going to take the shade Voodoo right here, which is like a dark plummy brown. I'm going to put that somewhat in the outer corner and see what that does. Not the brush I want. Do you see this right now? What is this? I swear that if this is the first video you're seeing from me, I actually can do makeup and I can do eyeshadow, but like I don't know what it is about this palette. I don't think it works really well. I think it's really like skipping oddly here. I think there's creating bald patches like right here and here. I think the colors all blend away and they all create like a mess, which is super disappointing. And I think you just lose all the dimension that you normally would have in an eyeshadow. Like, do you see this right now? Do you see this? Like, where did all of this lack of color go? So because I usually take forever filming my intros, my camera battery died, but we're back now, and this is where we're at. I have used a bunch of different shades on my eyes. I started with Aya, Lotus, I've used Amaha, Maasai, Voodoo, Stone, Tribe, Tamarind. So I used, oh, and Desert Day. I used a bunch of different shades in this palette, and I think you can see, like, it does not work well. Like, there's no sticking power to these shadows, and it ends up kind of just looking like a muddy, gently pigmented, disappointing mess. I'm really not happy with how my eyeshadow tends to look when I use this palette, which is ridiculous because it is $129 and I should love my makeup every single time I use this palette. So I'm going to go ahead, finish my eyes off camera, and I will be back so we can do swatches and I can show you how the swatches of this palette compared to some of her other ones. And I know generally swatches are not known to show like quality of how they compare, but I really think the quality of these swatches compared to the others show you the difference in those shadows. So I'll be right back and we'll get even further into it. Just so no one can say that I'm not being fair with the swatches, I'm gonna prime my arm using my same eyeshadow primer. I'm gonna do the first one, Malaya. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing any of these right, but they're kind of hard names too. So that one here. And then I'll do close-up ones as well, because just in case. So now that you've seen the swatches of the Safari palette, I'm gonna go ahead and take the Layla palette and the Star palette that I have and swatch the mattes from both of those so I can hold them up side by side so you can really see what I mean when I say there's a difference in the quality and how they swatch. So first I'm gonna take the Layla palette and swatch the mattes that are in there. This is just one swatch through. So here are the Layla and Star palette swatches. The Layla ones are over here. The Star palettes are as you go closer to my elbow. And I definitely think that there is a difference here that you can see. These aren't the world's best swatches, but you can still tell they're not as like gently pigmented and they don't really seem to be like wisping away as much. Safari swatches, and I think as you can tell, the longer they're on my arm, the more it kind of seems to be wisping away. And then here are the Layla swatches. So now that you've seen swatches of the Safari palette and then you have seen swatches of the Safari palette compared to the mattes in the Layla and Star palettes, I want to show you what I found to be the closest dupes in my collection. Unfortunately, I was not able to find dupes for all of the shades in here, but I did my best. So first of all, here is Desert Date compared to Melt Antique from the Rust stack. Antique is a little bit lighter, but that was the closest match I could find there. So then what else was I able to find? And then I found Tamarind from the palette. Right here, which is like kind of the mustardy shade. That one I found to be close to Melt Rubbish. Rubbish might be a little bit deeper, but it was still the closest I could find. And then I have Thorn, which is the brown right here. I found was closest to Rust, also from the Rust stack. So clearly if you like the browns in this palette, the Melt Rust stack is a pretty good dupe. So Thorn and then Rust. Savannah here, which is like kind of the mossy green shade. I found that one to be closest to Destiny from Subculture. I think the one from the Natasha Denona palette pulls a little bit more gray, but this is still what I was able to find. Then we're going to say Maasai was just a tad bit lighter than All Star, also from the Subculture palette. I also found that Thorn, again, was also pretty close to Fudge. So these were what I was able to find out of my palettes, and then I have a couple single shadows that I think were close to a few others. So the last comparison that I have is the shade Lotus, which is the light pink, to a Sydney Grace Co shadow called Embrace, which are right here. Okay, so I'm gonna get closer for all of these again. So again, these are the shades that I was able to find that were closest to what I had in my collection. Lotus and Embrace. Okay, so that was a lot, and I really hope that this video in post makes sense. I know I'm not the best at showing swatches, but I really wanted to show you what this palette looks like, what it looks like compared to other Natasha Denona palettes, and then I also wanted to show you that yes, it is a really unique palette because I went through my entire collection and I know I have a lot of shadows, and I wasn't able to find dupes for most of the unique shades in there. The two things that I was able to find that were the closest were really the Melt Rust stack, had quite a few similar shades, but mostly those browns, and then the other one that I was able to find that was really close was the Subculture palette, which, as you probably know if you're in this makeup world at all, has some issues of its own. However, that palette is a lot cheaper than this one, so I feel like it's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow than having a $129 shadow palette not perform as you're expecting to. Again, these shades are absolutely stunning, so I really wish this palette worked out for me, but unfortunately it does not. I'm never happy with my eyeshadow whenever I use this palette, which is just such a big disappointment. And I will continue to try to find similar shadows to these colors, and I'm really hoping that some of the indie brands that I like to try will have these similar shades and I'll be able to find something else. But I think for now I would like to just say that, like, I'm not a fan of this palette. It was definitely a miss for me, and I will be returning it. And I almost never return eyeshadows or makeup in general. I love to have my collection. I generally love most makeup, but this one was just not a hit for me. And the biggest pro for me is that these shadows are super unique, but my biggest con is they don't perform very well. So I hope this video was super informative for you, and I hope this helped you make a decision if you were on the fence about buying it or not. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will talk to you all real soon. Bye!